50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, this Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, it's 9 p.m. I'm Alex Armstrong and this is Patrick Christys. Tonight...
It's time to go!
Yes, it's time to go, Ange, the working class hero who cries for sympathy while barely showing an ounce of compassion when she, of course, called for 8 other cabinet ministers to resign. Meanwhile, her cabinet mates have been out with an impassioned defence.
They have a go at her because she's so bloody good at her job.
So good she doesn't even know her own stamp duty policies. Anyway, but what does the Prime Minister have to say about tax dodging?
Any politician who seeks to avoid the taxes they owe in this country is not fit to be in charge of taxpayer money.
Ooh, funny that. When will the Prime Minister grow a spine and just sack her? Also on this show, the Ethiopian illegal migrant whose crime sparked protest outside migrant hotels has been found guilty of sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl just days after arriving on a small boat. Is Labour's soft touch on illegal migrants fueling public rage? Plus...
At what point did we become North Korea?
Yeah, Nigel Farage's bombshell comments have sent the Islington elites into complete meltdown. Also...
Try telling the parents of 17,000 children murdered in Gaza, never again.
Yes, well, the Palestinian flag has been raised over Scotland. The SNP government has announced sanctions on Israel, and Hamza Youssef is loving it.
Look into my eyes, look into my eyes. The eyes, yeah, not around the eyes, don't look around the eyes, look into my eyes. You're undone.
Yeah, the new leader of the Green Party, who claimed he could make women's breasts bigger through hypnosis, that's Zach Polanski, has said shoplifting is justified. Well, has he got a point? And breaking news tonight, another defection to reform. The former Conservative Culture Secretary and staunch Boris ally Nadine Dorries has joined Nigel Farage's party. And on my panel tonight, it's former Tory MP Anna Firth and ex-Labour advisor Matthew Larzer. And I've got a very, very special guest in the studio. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. I'll be unveiling all at 10 p.m. Your Thursday evening starts right now. Well, you were called far right, weren't you? But you've been right so far. Next.
Very good evening to you. The top story tonight at 9. An asylum seeker housed at the Bell Hotel in Epping has been found guilty of all 5 charges against him, including the sexual assault of a 14-year-old girl. The court heard that Hadush Kabatu also harassed 2 other teenagers and an adult woman. The 38-year-old denied the allegations, calling them fabrications, but the judge said the evidence was clear and consistent. Kabatu will be sentenced on the 23rd of this month, with the court warning an immediate prison term is likely. His arrest earlier this summer triggered protests and counter-demonstrations outside that hotel. Well, the row over Angela Rayner's stamp duty so-called mistake has deepened, with the conveyancers who handled her flat purchase now insisting they're being made scapegoats. The Deputy Prime Minister has admitted underpaying tax on her £800,000 property in Hove after fresh legal advice. She says she acted on guidance given at the time, but the firm Verico and Associates now claim they never offered tax advice, saying they weren't qualified to do so. Sir Keir Starmer says he is awaiting the outcome of his Standards Advisor's inquiry and will act on its findings. But he wouldn't be drawn today on whether he'd sack his deputy if she's found to have breached ministerial rules. Well, the Chancellor Rachel Reeves did say earlier that she has full confidence in Angela Rayner.
I have full confidence in Angela Rayner. She's a good friend and a colleague. She has accepted the right stamp duty wasn't paid. That was an error. That was a mistake. She is working hard now to rectify that.
Also tonight, a shock defection as former Conservative MP and Culture Secretary Nadine Dorries has joined Reform UK. After 18 years as Tory MP, Ms Dorries told the Daily Mail the Tory party is dead and urged members to, quote, think the unthinkable and look to the future. Reform leader Nigel Farage said he was delighted to welcome her, calling Dorries a major boost to the party's election campaign. It's understood she's set to deliver the opening speech at Reform's conference in Birmingham tomorrow, following secret meetings with Mr Farage in London. The Home Office is preparing to appeal after a High Court judge ruled that Palestine Action can press ahead with a challenge against the group's terror designation. The network was banned in July under anti-terror laws, making membership or support a criminal offence and could carry up to 14 years in prison. The group's co-founder, Huda Amori, argues a prescription is disproportionate and a curb on free speech and says the Home Secretary acted unlawfully. Judges, though, agreed those points were reasonably arguable, but the Home Office is defending its decision, insisting Palestine Action caused serious damage, including a £7 million attack on military aircraft. That appeal will be heard on the 25th of September. In London, 17 people have been left injured after a double-decker bus crashed near Victoria Station. The Route 24 service veered onto the pavement just before 8:30 this morning, yards from one of Britain's busiest rail hubs. 15 people, including the driver, were taken to hospital, though police say none of the injuries are life-threatening. Eyewitnesses described seeing a massive bang and people screaming as the bus came off the road at speed. Police are now appealing for dashcam and mobile phone footage as their investigation continues. And a former Royal Marine has today denied deliberately driving into crowds of Liverpool fans celebrating the club's Premier League victory. 53-year-old Paul Doyle faces 31 charges after more than 130 people were injured in May. The victims ranged from babies to a 77-year-old. Appearing by video link from prison, Doyle wiped away tears as his defence accused Belmarsh of blocking access to evidence. His trial is set for November, with prosecutors alleging he used his car as a weapon. That is the news on GB News. I'll be back with a full roundup for the news at 10. Now, though, it's over to Alex.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, the left said it was racism, Islamophobia and xenophobia. Well, today, the resident of the Bell Hotel, Hadush Kabatu, 38 years old, was found guilty of sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl and another woman in Epping just days after arriving here on a small boat. This disgusting piece of work, housed at the Bell Hotel, harassed a child, tried to kiss her, stroking her hair, and said he wanted to have a baby with her, even after she told him, "No, I'm 14. Now, we don't know how long he's going to get in prison yet, but I want to turn your attention to another case in the press. Illegal migrant Moffat Conophelia, aged 48, sexually assaulted a 17-year-old girl in Weymouth. Now, he was found guilty, but somehow, just somehow, managed to dodge prison time. He is an ex-resident of the Bibby Stockholm. He followed the 17-year-old uninvited and then proceeded to kiss her on the lips twice, then said he had never been so close to a white woman. He begged magistrates not to send him to jail as he needed to support his wife and children, stating, "I have never committed any offence in my own country. I respect the laws of the land." Yeah, well, you've already committed a crime in this country, haven't you, mate? Stop it all off. He said, "The British are looking after me. Accommodation, food. I can give the whole lot." Well, that says a lot, doesn't it, about the state of our system. But this isn't a one-off. According to government figures obtained by the Centre for Migration Control, foreign nationals accounted for up to 34% of convictions for sexual assault on females in 2024, despite only being 10.9% of the population. Foreign nationals are convicted at a rate twice higher than the British citizens that make up this country for similar crimes. And in Oxford, an illegal migrant was convicted of raping a 20-year-old in a churchyard. In Wakefield, a Sudanese man was found guilty of strangling and attempting to rape a woman in a nightclub toilet. Overall, we've seen a 62% surge in migrant-related sex crimes over the last 4 years, outpacing these British nationals by over 20%. And these cases just keep piling up. And rightfully, you at home, the public, are sick of it all. This ruling, frankly, in my strong opinion, is yet another incentive for some illegal migrants who clearly have very bad intentions to come to this country and try and get away with sexual assault. Meanwhile, the government has claimed it's cracking down on the asylum system despite announcing new measures for asylum visas, including, get this, letting many of them come here and work and study. Now, it's clear to me the government is not listening to you, and our justice system is frankly, well, it's seemingly now complicit in incentivising people to come to this country because we are not only soft on crime, but we are very soft on illegal foreigners committing these crimes. Look, I want to get the thoughts of my panel, former Conservative MP Anna Firth, journalist Emily Sheffield and former Labour advisor Matthew Larser. Thanks all for joining me this evening. It's always longer than I thought, that walk. Matthew, I'll start with you. Because, of course, we've heard the Epping case today. That's been quite a shocker because, of course, the government have intervened in this case. We've had I think it's probably the light that sparks the whole country to start protesting migrant hotels across the country. You know, how complicit is the Labour government in this? They're trying to close hotels, but they forced this hotel to stay open now. Women and children in that area are going to be terrified.
Well, they forced the hotel to stay open because at the moment some of the migrants have to go somewhere and there wasn't anywhere else for them to go. And I think it's better to have them in the hotel temporarily, and I hope that is temporarily, rather than wandering the streets or in some encampment, etc. I mean, I think the key thing on these sex offences committed by asylum seekers is the government is, for the first time, the Labour government is changing the rules so that anybody who is convicted of a crime that means they go on the sex offenders register will automatically be disqualified from seeking asylum. So their asylum claim will have a big no stamped on it if they end up on the sex offenders register, which we don't know yet because the Epping guy hasn't been sentenced whether or not he'll qualify for that. But if he did, that's the bar. Now, maybe the bar needs to go lower than that, but at least that's a start, and it hasn't been done by any government at any time in the past.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Anna, of course, you weren't in the government, but you were a Tory MP, and I know you've been very critical of the way that was handled in the past. I mean, I gave some stats there. I mean, this is 20% higher than British nationals, two times higher, than British nationals in some cases. What is going on? How does the Labour government get on top of this? Because it seems to me that, we've got Yvette Cooper on one hand saying she's going to crack down on asylum seekers and we're going to stop having so many come into the country. On the other hand, she's announcing new visa programmes.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a few things to say there, Alex. In respect of these two cases that you have highlighted, it's absolutely cut and dried. They should both be deported and be deported almost instantly. In the Epping case, he's an Ethiopian. We don't have an official returns agreement with Ethiopia, but we do have an informal understanding. So if he gets a custodial sentence, he should be deported. In the case of the other one, just as bad, he comes from the Solomon Islands, where we do have a returns.
What's he doing here? What's he doing here? Solomon Islands. I mean, there's no war happening in the Solomon Islands, is there?
But Alex, the point here is that Starmer said in April that he was going to get tough on this. That no one who commits an offence over here should get any sort of asylum status. So this is a test. The government can deport these two. Are they going to? Have they got the stomach for it? I suspect they haven't.
Yeah, Emily, look, I think many people are up and down the country were quite furious about this smear they've been constantly called, this far-right smear. Well, it seems to me the people of Epping have been vindicted, at least, you know, by this case. They've shown that they weren't wrong. They've come to the forefront of this whole crisis in this country. Should they be called far-right? Do you think the Prime Minister should apologise? Do you think the other party leaders should get involved and say, you know, to the government, what are you doing, infuriating people up and down the country?
No, I don't. I think it's a very easy tag to label everyone as far-right. There are far-right elements in some of this. They should not be ignored. But, you know, a great deal of people at Epping were local mothers, fathers, and it's completely wrong for anyone to label them far-right. They wanted the safety of their own children and the safety for themselves. But to go back, I think we need to take a step back. We need to stop people coming here in the first place. And that, I'm afraid, is becoming increasingly clear. We have to either take far tougher measures here, or we need to pull out or rewrite the 1951 Refugee Convention, because I want to go back to the guy who's here from the Solomon Islands. I find it very hard to understand why someone would want to can claim asylum from the Solomon Islands. It's got terrible poverty, but I can't really. He was part of a football team.
Yeah, he did work for the national government. He wasn't. He wasn't being persecuted by the sound of it.
Persecution, because at the moment it stands. It's so loosely interpreted here that anyone can pitch up on our shore. And by the way, there are a huge amount of students coming here on perfectly legitimate visas. And this, by the way, is a far bigger problem than people arriving in boats. And then while they are here, claiming asylum.
Yeah, we are going to stop that. The government is going to stop that.
We are being taken for fools. We have to look back at what we signed up to in the 1951 Refugee Convention a very long time ago. Everything has completely changed. It's far easier to reach this country, and it either needs to be written, but at the same time, we must look at countries like Denmark, who have come up with incredibly tough measures, and they have a centre-left coalition there at the moment, and they haven't been frightened to put. We have to stop the draw for bringing people here in the first place.
Yeah, Matthew, I want to go back to this point, because do you think the Epping residents have been vindicated? Do you think that they've now been proven right? They were right to have those protests outside the hotel. There was someone dangerous living there. Their women and children there were under threat. Of course, they've been attacked by the left in the media consistently. Now we've got Ellie Goulding, I think, a national superstar, coming out and saying she's embarrassed to be English because she's seen these mothers and protesting up and down the country. What does that say about the state of the left in this?
Well, I haven't heard her comments, but I mean, you know, I think you're absolutely right that there were a lot of legitimate protesters, local people, particularly women and their daughters who were concerned about their safety, protesting, which was legitimate. There clearly were far-right elements and just plain thuggish elements, because, you know, protesters... Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, no, there were thuggish elements of all descriptions and none, because I don't think it does anybody a favour to be hitting a copper or climbing on a police van, which is obviously not what the mums were doing. So yes to peaceful protests, and absolutely no to thuggery, whatever people try and label it as.
But Yvette Cooper had a choice, just as it's a choice whether we use asylum hotels, and I don't think we should be using asylum hotels. I think we should have deportation camps. I think we should go back to accommodation barges. Just as that's a choice, it was also a choice for this government to appeal the decision. The High Court judge, in my opinion, got it right. That was not the right place for those migrants to be, and they should have been moved. Yvette Cooper did not have to appeal that decision. That was her choice.
Well, they had to go somewhere while they were there, Anna.
No. They could go to an army barracks somewhere. They could go to another place. That particular hotel, right next to a primary
I think
school,
it will be closed very quickly.
I mean,
Anna, I broadly agree with you, but
I'm really pleased. I heard it in the car coming up. I hope it's the case that actually this case has now got leave to go to the Supreme Court. It'd be very interesting to see if they back the local people or whether
I hope
they
it's
back
closed before it gets there. But I mean, and one of the problems is James Cleverly, who's just been brought back by Kemi Badenoch into the shadow cabinet, campaigned against the use of military bases in his own constituency to house asylum seekers. Everybody says we want them to do this.
Hang on, because I was actually in the Commons at that point, and the Bell Hotel was down on the list. Jenrick and Cleverly ordered that hotel.
No, I don't know about closing that. Literally, James. That's not what I said. James Cleverly. I didn't know about that. James Cleverly has campaigned and is campaigning against the use of ex-military installations, barracks in his constituency to be used as house asylum seekers.
But that doesn't mean that they're not the right place to be used.
It does if everybody keeps doing that.
I mean, just take the Bibi Stockholm, which that had Legionnaire's disease. We don't obviously
and cost a fortune.
We obviously don't want. But that barge was used in Germany for 4 years for asylum.
We didn't stop it. It was already stopped.
It was used by Petrofac for British workers. This is typical socialism. Something that's good enough for UK workers.
We didn't stop it.
It's not good enough for
asylum. It was socialism in the government you were part of.
You're still against it, though. You're still against it, Matthew.
Hang on one at a time. Emily, your thoughts? Because I do think Matthew has a point. I mean, Kemi Badenoch was trying to force the hand of the government by putting these legal injunctions into up and down the country to our councillors. But where were they all going to go? I think they were going to go to HMOs. And I think that's way worse.
I think that is way worse. And I come back to the point I just made. We have to stop migrants coming here in the first place, because once they're here in their vast numbers, we do not have anywhere to put them. That is the reality.
Or a system that can process them efficiently.
And to stop them coming, you have to have a deterrent. And the Conservatives were in the process of putting in place a big deterrent, which would have been the Rwanda scheme. And it was actually showing some signs of working. And Keir Starmer was completely wrong.
I mean, I don't want to trot out the line.
Yes, here we go. It cost £700 million.
And we still haven't paid the bill. Apparently, we still owe the money.
The cost of 2 weeks of people in asylum hotels.
Matthew, and I've got to stop you both there because, I mean, listen, the British people are frustrated. Whatever we can do to end the hotels, make sure they don't end up in HMOs, I think is a win if the government can manage it. But I don't know if I'm holding my breath on that one. Anyway, time for our latest Great British giveaway now. It's a bit of a change of tune, isn't it? It's our biggest prize to date, worth over 104 grand. You could win a 4-berth motorhome worth 74k plus 30 grand tax-free cash. Here's all the details.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof lights, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For a chance to win the motorhome and cash, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Oh, good luck, everybody. Well, coming up, former hypnotist dubbed the Boob Whisperer, and the new leader of the Green Party, Zach Polanski, has claimed that shoplifting is justified. But under what circumstances? Maybe it's around the eyes, not into the eyes. You're under. I'll reveal all next.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, this Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Yeah, welcome back. This is Patrick Christys tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. Well, is shoplifting ever justified? It's time for our head-to-head. Well, the new hard-left, pro-trans, pro-Gaza Green Party leader Zach Polansky has made the shocking claim that shoplifting is justified for Brits living in poverty. And he could would even consider if he had no money. Well, there you go. Speaking to the BBC, the former hypnotist who was dubbed the boob... Sorry, that was what's distracting me. I knew this was coming. The boob whisperer, after claiming women could increase their breast size using the power of their minds, said the UK was criminalising inequality. He added, a lot of people who are poor have to go around stealing because they have no other option. If I had no money or any way of getting any money or food to my family, then I would consider shoplifting. Well, this year, shoplifting hit a record high, with official figures revealing that there were 1,454 a day in the year to March. So, tonight, I'm asking, is shoplifting justified for Brits living in poverty? Well, going head-to-head on this are independent councillor Martin Abrams and the Professor of Criminology at Staffordshire University, James Treadwell. Well, James, I'll start with you. Thanks for joining me, both of you. This is, in my opinion, this is a completely bonkers claim to make. It's just, I feel like it's sort of justifying anarchy. But, James, what do you make of it? Should those in poverty be allowed to shoplift?
No, they certainly shouldn't. It's the most liberal and middle-class sort of tell, this one, because shoplifting really isn't at all about poverty. You know, I find it amazing. If you go and watch some videos at the moment, and there are plenty of young men going into Greggs, you know, wearing £300 trap star jackets and expensive designer trainers. You know, it's very, very clear, isn't it, that, you know, they're all victims of poverty. The reality is that you know, what actually fuels much shoplifting is Class A drug addiction historically. But at the moment, what's fueling it isn't drug addiction at all. It's a crime that's incredibly easy to get away with, where there are no consequences, and therefore people are doing it, at least in part, for that reason. And political endorsements that kind of make shoplifting the stuff of poverty and disadvantage, for one, they're incredibly patronising. I mean, think about all of those people who are living with the last few pounds, who, you know, incredibly disadvantaged, but would not think in any way, shape or form of going out and breaking the law, and how they're being portrayed in this kind of language and terminology. But, you know, it's a very, very classic tell from very middle class people that they actually haven't spent much time around impoverished people. That's what it tells you more than anything else.
OK, well, I'll bring you in, Martin. What do you make of that? I mean, do you think this is really just sort of giving poor people a bad name? Most poor people are good, law-abiding citizens. They don't need to shoplift. They just need to get on with their lives like the rest of us had to do when we've been struggling before. We don't want to encourage them to go out and steal, do we?
Well, seeing as this is a head-to-head debate, you won't be surprised that I disagree with those sentiments. I'm a councillor in Streatham in Lambeth, and my ward runs along Streatham High Road, which is one of the longest high streets in Europe. It's got some amazing shops, got some amazing independent businesses, and shoplifting is often an absolute scourge on these businesses and our community, particularly for independent businesses struggling to survive. But the question of compassion towards shoplifters during an ongoing cost of living crisis needs to be understood in the broader context. The systemic inequalities, and we do live in an increasingly unequal society that drive people into desperate choices in times of economic crisis. It's not just about individual morality, it's about survival in a system that denies many the basic necessities of life, whilst also allowing corporate profits and wealth inequality to absolutely skyrocket.
Yeah, but Martin, just really briefly, let me come in really briefly, because this is impacting independent shop owners as well, people who are really struggling to make rent at the end of the month, and they're getting nicked, they're getting stuff robbed out of their shops. It's 500,000 offences last year. It's costing the economy $4 billion. It's not just people who are literally living on the street shoplifting, is it?
Absolutely not, and that's why you go into any supermarket, you go into any chemist, and some of the items that you see with security tags on, items like baby formula, and that's because there's been a massive increase in people shoplifting baby formula for their absolute necessity. And there's now a black market for baby formula because people simply cannot afford the extortionately high prices.
But Martin, I'm going to pass it back over to James in a second. But the problem I've got with that is that when you steal, you're actually increasing the prices for the next person who then might be pushed onto the poverty line themselves. But anyway, look, James, what do you make of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Baby formula is stolen. I don't believe that in the most instances baby formula is being stolen by people who are stealing it for their own babies. You know, again, what they're then doing is buying stolen goods, you know, and that certainly happens when people are on the poverty line without recognising necessarily that in the purchase of those stolen goods you then impact and raise the prices even higher, because the profits will always be clawed back, and will be clawed back most actually by those private big corporate retail businesses, because what happens to the little independents is they're driven out of business. They simply end, you know. Yeah. But again, when you look at who's actually doing that shoplifting, you know, the idea that that's necessarily about poverty, no, very often it's about hard drug addiction, where people have to make £300 a day, so they sell something that's high value, very easy to sell on, which there's a big market for, and then they put it back onto that market at a discount price. Now, yeah, okay, we can then link that to poverty, but people will buy stolen goods very often when they wouldn't ever consider going out and stealing them themselves, because they're a step removed from that actual act. You know, the actual act of shoplifting is very, very often being undertaken by people who are not necessarily doing it because they're facing the absolute breadline, you know, oh, it's this or the workhouse governor, it's terrible for me. No, they're often doing it either because they need to make large amounts of cash to fund their drug addiction, or because they want to make large amounts of cash for lifestyle as well, you know. So, and it goes exactly back to that point that, you know, you will get shoplifters wearing £400 designer jackets. There's a lot of it that's rational. And thinking of that, you know, where are you more likely to go out and target as a shoplifter? You're going to go at the little and independent business where the security isn't so established.
James, I just want to give. We've got to wrap up. I want to give Martin a brief opportunity to respond. Martin, keep it brief for me, please, mate.
Absolutely. The statistics came out in 2023. The number of shoplifters who were nicked for their first offence has increased by 27%. So that just goes to show that this is not just organised crime or people trying to feed their Class A drug habits. This is often absolutely desperate people, and talking about people not seeing people that are absolutely desperate or struggling. I'm a counsellor. I get people in absolute desperation coming to me who need to be referred to food banks just to put food on the table. We're living through some of the worst cost of living crises we've ever known in this country, and that is often why people have to go to desperate measures.
OK, Martin Abrams, independent counsellor there. Thank you very much. Professor of Criminology at Staffordshire University, James Treadwell. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me for good hearty debates. Well, coming up.
At what point did we become North Korea? Well, I think the Irish comedy writer found that out 2 days ago at Heathrow Airport.
Well, is Nigel Farage right? Has the UK become North Korea when it comes to free speech? I'll find out in just a few seconds.
Be nice to escape the grey.
Clear skies, here we come.
As clear as our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst it's feeling pretty autumnal across the UK at the moment, it's a different story across southern Europe. Lots of places having generally fine, often sunny and still pretty warm weather. That being said, across some eastern parts of Spain tomorrow, it's looking quite damp, and we do still have some heavy thundery rain across parts of northern Italy into Switzerland and Austria, even some snow over the Alps. Otherwise, like I said, lots of fine weather to be had, and that's the theme as we go through the weekend into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening. Some very heavy rain in places today, but it's all shifting away now, and tomorrow looks an awful lot calmer. The winds will be lighter. Most of us will have a dry day. We haven't seen many of those for this week. Low pressure is definitely in control, sitting to the north of the UK. We've had this low actually drifting right across England and Wales. That's been providing the heavy downpours, starting to ease through this evening, pulling out into the North Sea. Now, it won't be a completely dry night. There'll be a few showers coming into Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, the odd one still for northwest England and West Wales. But most places will be dry with long clear spells overnight. We'll allow it to turn a bit colder, certainly than last night. Temperatures in rural spots down into single digits. A fresh but fine start then to Friday, and overall a pretty good looking day. Certainly, as I said, a lot drier than many days have been through this week. Still not completely dry, still a few showers perhaps across the far north of Scotland and the north and the west of Northern Ireland. A few showers feeding in from the Irish Sea into northwest England possibly too. But I think for most of England and Wales it'll be a dry, fine start to the day. As I said, a little bit cooler than it was first thing this morning. During the day we'll see some clouds developing, so it'll be a day of cloudy spells and a little bit of sunshine coming through. A few showers are still possible in western areas, but they should be light, and most places won't see them stay dry. It will turn a bit cloudy over the Western Isles with some drizzly rain possible here as the breeze picks up. But for most, the winds are a lot lighter than they have been, so feeling a bit warmer than today. Temperatures high teens, low 20s. Warmer still on Saturday, and again, most places dry and bright. Still a possibility of a few showers in western Scotland. Quite a bit of cloud around on Saturday, so the sunshine will be fairly hazy, but I think you'll notice that difference, the humidity starting to pick up, and a warmer day with temperatures more widely over 20 degrees Celsius. Make the most of it though, because Sunday things turn wet and windy once more.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. Well, over in Washington, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has slammed the government's record on free speech just days after the co-creator of Father Ted, Graham Linehan, was arrested over social media posts.
I've come today as well to be a klaxon, to say to you, don't allow, piece by piece, this to happen here in America. And you would be doing us and yourselves and all freedom-loving people a favour if your politicians and your businesses said to the British government, you've simply got this wrong. At what point did we become North Korea? Well, I think the Irish comedy writer found that out 2 days ago at Heathrow Airport. This is a genuinely worrying, concerning and shocking situation.
Yeah, Nigel Farage also highlighted the case of Lucy Connolly, who was jailed for inciting violence with a social media post. So, is the UK now comparable to North Korea when it comes to free speech? Well, I'm joined now by the editor at the Daily Signal, Tyler O'Neill. Tyler, thank you so much for joining us. I believe you are in America yourself, so you'll be primed to answer these questions. Nigel Farage has been on your airwaves. We're used to seeing him here on our airwaves in the UK. What's the reaction been to his comments over in America?
Yeah, I mean, Americans generally support free speech, are horrified to hear what happened to Graham Linehan. And, you know, we've been hearing stories from the UK for a little while that really worry us. I mean, I've heard about Christians who are praying outside abortion clinics getting arrested and facing charges over that. We've had similar scandals here in the States, though usually not quite as bad. And, you know, when we hear things from Britain, you know, we're very close with you guys on the other side of the pond. And so this horrifies us. I don't know if North Korea comparisons are necessarily apt, but when you are clamping your hand down on the scale so much against free speech, especially when these people are speaking for biological reality, for the basic truth that men are men and women are women, and they don't switch sexes. I mean, when I was growing up, I could not have imagined that we'd be talking about this.
Yeah, Tyler, I just want to show you a clip of our Prime Minister in the House of Commons a couple of days ago. Have a look at this.
I've been clear throughout, we must ensure the police focus on the most serious issues and the issues that matter most to our constituencies and all communities. And that includes tackling issues like antisocial behaviour, knife crime and violence. And we have a long history of free speech in this country. I'm very proud of that and I will always defend it.
Yeah, Tyler, we saw similar comments by Keir Starmer when his meeting with Donald Trump when he was over in Washington and again when he was here in the UK and Scotland. Is there a perception that Nigel Farage is sort of making this up in America, or do most Americans genuinely look over here and, because of your First Amendment rights, go, what the hell is happening in Great Britain?
I think we generally look with skepticism at Great Britain, especially on this issue. I mean, it is funny to say, because on the issue of, you know, the horrific treatments that are billed as gender-affirming care, I feel like Britain is actually ahead of us. But when it comes to free speech and the ability to speak out, It's on the other side of the pendulum. So you have this bizarre situation where, thank God, the National Health Service over there has woken up to the dangers of putting kids on experimental drugs that lead to permanent sterilization. And yet at the same time, when people speak out on these issues in Great Britain, they see themselves arrested. They see themselves facing charges. I mean, there is such a mismatch. And over here in the States, we're finally waking up. We're starting to take action against so-called gender-affirming care. But never in a million years would we think of putting someone in jail for posting somebody's wrong pronouns on the internet.
Yeah, and Tyler, just sort of off the back of that as well, because we saw that big congressional Senate hearing I think Nigel Farage was at. And, of course, Jamie Raskin is a name I've never heard of before being a Brit, I have to admit. And I think many Brits who watched the hearing would also never have heard of him. But he slammed Nigel Farage. He called Nigel Farage a Trump sycophant and a Putin lover or something along those lines. Is this sort of the usual politics we should expect from people like Jamie Raskin, or was he talking on behalf of a wider population of people?
No, I think that is very Jamie Raskin. I feel a little bit of jealousy for you of never having heard of him before. But Nigel Farage was speaking in the House, and one of the ways I know that is that Jamie Raskin was there. He is just a member of the House, but he is one of these many Democrats who are looking for every excuse to delegitimize the important issues that President Trump and that Nigel Farage was taking up. And so, when it comes to politics on this side of the pond, unfortunately, many of those on the other side of President Trump have decided almost to go over a barrel to try to, oppose everything he does. When it comes to crime, when it comes to fighting illegal immigration, they're rushing to get on the side of the illegal aliens that Trump is deporting. So I wouldn't take Jamie Raskin's statements as representative of what Americans believe.
Yeah, indeed. One further thing, of course, because Trump himself has come under fire on the left here in the UK and on the left in America for his record on free speech. What would you say to people who are saying that, Trump's deporting people that maybe criticise the United States of America? What sort of response would you give to that, Tyler?
Yeah, so what we're talking about on that issue is people who, so when it comes to free speech, every citizen has the rights of free speech, and every person who, what happened in those cases were these are foreign nationals in the United States on temporary visas, and the federal government has a wide latitude for the reasons it can decide whether someone's visa is no longer legitimate. And so when you have somebody, and this is less a free speech issue and more engaging in anti-Semitic harassment on college campuses and supporting that. And when Trump decided to revoke the visas of some people who had been engaged in, propping up these campaigns that led to anti-Semitic harassment on college campuses, that's a very specific issue on those lines.
Yeah.
I think it's very important that we defend free speech, but also that doesn't mean that the federal government should be funding every sort of speech effort.
Yeah,
and so one of the
Tyler, sorry to cut you off because unfortunately we've got to leave it there, but I totally agree with you, and I wish we have a harder line in this country too. Fantastic stuff. The editor at the Daily Signal, Tyler O'Neill, thank you so much for joining me. Well, coming up.
Try telling the parents of 17,000 children murdered in Gaza, never again.
I'm just so bored of hearing it anyway. That's former First Minister Humza Yousaf, who's compared Israel's actions in Gaza to the Holocaust. And that's not all. The Scottish Government has split with Westminster and introduced sanctions on Israel. I'll reveal all shortly. See you soon.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here.
I'm Michelle Jewbury. Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GBNews family with you on any device, and as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, the former Scottish First Minister Humza Yousaf has been slammed after appearing to compare Israel's actions in Gaza to the Holocaust in a speech at Holyrood yesterday.
Never again. These are the words we repeat every single year when we attend Holocaust Memorial Day. We rightly gather and promise to honour the memories of the 6 million Jews and all of those killed during the evil of the Holocaust. Never again, we say. I'm not sure if in the annals of human history we've ever told ourselves a bigger lie. Try telling the parents of 17,000 children murdered in Gaza, never again.
Well, he was speaking after the Palestinian flag was flown above the Scottish Government headquarters in Edinburgh. First Minister John Swinney also announced that the government cash would be halted for Scottish arms companies that supply Israel. I'm now joined by the political commentator and former SNP member Stuart Crawford. Stuart, thank you so much for joining me. Now, look, I have to start by just giving you a bit of my own opinion here, because when I see things like this, I think to myself, why on earth are politicians up and down our country prioritising a foreign war over the issues facing their constituents? Stuart, what do you make of it?
Good evening. Well, it is sadly an example of collective idiocy, if you like, performative politics in a context where the Scottish Parliament and the Scottish Government have no locus, no powers whatsoever in international affairs and foreign policy, which are reserved to Westminster under the Scotland Act, which set up the Scottish Parliament. So both Humza Yousaf and John Swinney are perfectly entitled to their personal opinion on Gaza, which I disagree with, but they have no power whatsoever to represent the Scottish people through the Scottish Parliament on this issue. And what they're doing is basically still continuing with the mantra of doing anything that is the opposite of what happens in Westminster.
Yeah, well, Humza, if I'm correct on this, Stuart, Humza used to have a seat. He's an MSP, of course. He's still an MSP. Most people don't realise this, but he's still in the Scottish Parliament. His seat might be in one of the most deprived areas in Scotland. I mean, what is the response to most Scots that you speak to, Stuart, when you hear things and you see things like the Palestinian flag being flown above the Parliament there, and they feel like they're not being prioritised? What's the feeling?
Well, I think, first of all, to take the constituency issue, he does represent the Glasgow constituency of Pollock, which is, sadly, one of the most deprived and underprivileged parts of that great city, my home city, in fact. And one could argue quite cogently that he would be far better devoting his attention to the matters within his constituency than he is to matters outside the powers of the Scottish Parliament. He has some background here, of course, in that his wife's family are or were based in Gaza, and he may have used some of his personal influence when First Minister to ameliorate their situation there. But generally speaking, this espousing of the Palestinian cause and the sort of assumed or associated support of Hamas, which, let's be perfectly clear about it, is a murderous terrorist organization which started this recent episode of violence in the Middle East and in Gaza on its own. And Israel is just responding to that. So the whole situation is a mess, but Yusuf and Swinney have got nothing to do with it.
Well, Stuart, of course, Humza Yusuf would deny he used his personal influence in any engagements while he was in government, but I totally understand the sentiments and what you're saying there, Stuart. I hope Scotland comes to its common sense and does something about this, or at least makes their feelings, well, towards this issue. I guess most Scottish people just want their MSPs to get on with the job and make Scotland a better place. How about lowering some taxes, perhaps? Stuart, thank you so much for joining me. That's former SNP member Stuart Crawford joining me there to talk about this issue. Thank you so much, Stuart. Well, GB News approached Humza Yusuf for comment, but we have not yet heard back. Coming up.
It's time to go!
Time's up for Angela Rayner. I'll explain why the Prime Minister needs to grow a spine and send her packing. I've also been teasing that very special guest. They are coming up, trust me. I'll see you after the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. Some very heavy rain in places today, but it's all shifting away now, and tomorrow looks an awful lot calmer. The winds will be lighter. Most of us will have a dry day. We haven't seen many of those for this week. Low pressure is definitely in control, sitting to the north of the UK. We've had this low actually drifting right across England and Wales. That's been providing the heavy downpours, starting to ease through this evening, pulling out into the North Sea. Now, it won't be a completely dry night. There'll be a few showers coming into Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, the odd one still for North West England and West Wales. But most places will be dry with long clear spells overnight. We'll allow it to turn a bit colder, certainly than last night. Temperatures in rural spots down into single digits. A fresh but fine start then to Friday, and overall a pretty good looking day. Certainly, as I said, a lot drier than many days have been through this week. Still not completely dry, still a few showers perhaps across the far north of Scotland and the north and the west of Northern Ireland. A few showers feeding in from the Irish Sea into northwest England possibly too, but I think for most of England and Wales it'll be a dry, fine start to the day. As I said, a little bit cooler than it was first thing this morning. During the day we'll see some clouds developing, so it'll be a day of cloudy spells and a little bit of sunshine coming through. A few showers are still possible in western areas, but they should be light and most places won't see them stay dry. It will turn a bit cloudy over the Western Isles with some drizzly rain possible here as the breeze picks up. But for most, the winds are a lot lighter than they have been, so feeling a bit warmer than today. Temperatures high teens, low 20s. Warmer still on Saturday, and again, most places dry and bright. Still a possibility of a few showers in western Scotland. Quite a bit of cloud around on Saturday, so the sunshine will be fairly hazy, but I think you'll notice that difference, the humidity starting to pick up, and a warmer day with temperatures more widely over 20 degrees Celsius. Make the most of it though, because Sunday things turn wet and windy once more.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
It's Patrick Christys tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, it's 10 p.m. I'm Alex Armstrong, and this is Patrick Christys Tonight.
It's time to go!
I love that clip. Yes, it's time to go, Ange. The working class hero who cried for sympathy while barely showing an ounce of compassion when she called for 8 other cabinet ministers to resign. Meanwhile, her cabinet mates have been out with an impassioned defence.
They have a go at her because she's so bloody good at her job.
So good, she doesn't even know her own stamp duty policies. But what does the Prime Minister have to say about tax dodging?
Any politician who seeks to avoid the taxes they owe in this country is not fit to be in charge of taxpayer money.
When will the Prime Minister just grow a spine and sack her? Also on the show, the Ethiopian illegal migrant whose crime sparked protests outside migrant hotels has been found guilty of sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl just days after arriving on a small boat. Is Labour's soft touch on illegal migrants fueling public rage? And breaking tonight, another defection to reform. The former Conservative Culture Secretary and staunch Boris Johnson ally Nadine Dorries has joined Nigel Farage's party. And on my panel tonight, former Tory MP Anna Firth, the journalist Emily Sheffield and ex-Labour advisor Matthew Larzer. And got a very, very special guest with me in the studio. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. I'll be unveiling all at 10 p.m. Your Thursday evening starts right now. Angela Rayner is toast. Next.
Very good evening to you. The top story tonight at 10. The row over Angela Rayner's Hove property has deepened after the conveyancer involved denied ever giving her tax advice. The Deputy Prime Minister says incorrect advice from lawyers led to her underpay stamp duty on the £800,000 flat. But Verico and Associates, the firm she used, insists it never advised on tax or trusts, claiming it's being made a scapegoat. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch says Ms Rayner must now resign, while the Prime Minister has promised to act once his ethics advisor rules on whether she broke the ministerial code. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, however, said earlier she does have full confidence in Angela Rayner.
I have full confidence in Angela Rayner. She's a good friend and a colleague. She has accepted the right stamp duty wasn't paid. That was an error. That was a mistake. She is working hard now to rectify that.
And staying with politics, a shock defection tonight as former Conservative MP and Culture Secretary Nadine Dorries has joined Reform UK. After 18 years as Tory MP, she told the Daily Mail the Tory party is dead and urged members to think the unthinkable and look to the future. Reform leader Nigel Farage said he was delighted to welcome her to the party, calling Dorries a major boost to their election campaign. It's understood she's set to deliver the opening speech at Reform's conference in Birmingham tomorrow, following secret meetings with Mr Farage in London. An asylum seeker housed at the Bell Hotel in Epping has today been found guilty on all 5 charges against him, including the sexual assault of a 14-year-old girl. The court heard Hadush Kabatu also harassed 2 other teenagers and an adult woman. The 38-year-old denied the allegations and called them fabrications, but the judge said the evidence was clear and consistent. Kabatu will be sentenced on the 23rd of September, with the court warning an immediate prison term is likely. His arrest earlier this summer triggered protests and counter-demonstrations that tonight are continuing outside the hotel. The co-creator of Father Ted, Graham Linehan, is on trial in London, accused of harassing a transgender activist both online and damaging her phone. Westminster Magistrates Court heard the comedy writer, aged 57, posted a series of offensive and vindictive tweets about 18-year-old Sophia Brooks, calling them a domestic terrorist and sociopath. He also allegedly knocked their phone from their hand at a conference after they confronted him about his posts. Ms Brooks told the court that she was left alarmed and distressed. Linehan has pleaded not guilty to harassment and criminal damage, and he insists his social media activity was in the public interest and claims he acted in self-defence when that phone incident happened. The trial is continuing. And news in Portugal, where Lisbon's mayor has called yesterday's disaster on the funicular railway one of the biggest tragedies in the city's recent history. 16 people were killed and more than 20 injured, including tourists from Germany and Spain. When the packed carriage came off the tracks, a 3-year-old child was among those wounded. One local guide described rushing to the scene, saying all they could hear was silence. Portugal's Transport Office has said initial findings into the cause will be released tomorrow. And legendary fashion designer Giorgio Armani has today died at the age of 91. The Italian style icon built a global empire that redefined modern elegance, blending sharp tailoring with business acumen to grow a company worth billions. Armani's name became synonymous with understated luxury, dressing Hollywood stars and power players alike. His death, though, confirmed by Armani Group today, which said the industry has lost one of its most visionary figures. That is the news on GB News. One more roundup from me at 11. Now, though, it's over to Alex.
Angela Rayner, you are done. Resign now before the public chews you up and spits you out. You've built your career shouting from the rooftops about ethics, pointing fingers at Tories like former Chancellor Nadhim Zahawi, demanding they quit over tax scandals.
Every pound of tax that's not delivered to the Chancellor and to the Exchequer means that it damages our public services, and we know the state they're in. So the former Chancellor, when he was Chancellor last summer, made it clear at the time when he was questioned that he pays all his taxes and that he's done everything appropriately, and was threatening legal letters to anyone that questioned him. Now it emerged actually that that's not true, and that there was a HMRC investigation and that he's had to pay penalties for that. I think that makes his position untenable.
What's a hypocrite? She's got all her lefty mates out in the press all saying we should have sympathy for her and that her family after that puff piece interview by Sky News. But how much sympathy did she show to Naheem Zahawi and his children? None. Absolutely zero. It all seems like crocodile tears, blaming bad legal advice for your mess, Angela. And tonight, The Telegraph are even reporting that the lawyers who handled her purchase of the Hove flat weren't the ones that gave her the tax advice. So who gave it to you then? Seriously, you're the housing secretary. For God's sake, you even used a top-tier wealth management firm to handle your finances with a very good name, might I add. How do you, of all people, botch your own housing policy so badly? You're supposed to be fixing the house crisis, not starring in your own tax dodge drama. The Guardians turned on you. The papers today were a slaughterhouse, and even your Labour mates are rumoured to be whispering that you're finished. You've spent years playing the working class card and the council estate kid who made it big, and yet you've got a story. Teen mum at 16, no qualifications, clawing your way up through trade unions to becoming an MP. Respect for the hustle, right? But it doesn't give you a free pass to be ethically bankrupt or, indeed, incompetent. Being a woman, being working class, doesn't shield you from accountability. You've screamed for others to step down for far less. In fact, you've demanded at least 8 other ministers resign in the past. You reap what you sow, Angela. Now it's time to put your ethics where your mouth is. And let's talk about the response from the rest of this beleaguered government, because it seems Rayner told the government of her tax issue this Monday. That's according to the Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson. So this means that for the days after Rayner knew she had underpaid tax, meanwhile, members of the government went out saying the story was baseless, including the Prime Minister. How morally bankrupt are they? You just can't despise them enough, can you?
Anyone that saw Angela's statement yesterday, saw her interview yesterday, I think will have a lot of sympathy with some of the challenging family circumstances around this, around Angela's disabled son. But of course it is right that people pay their right amount of tax, and it's important that people in public life lead by example, and that's why Angela has referred herself to the independent advisor on ethics, and it's why she's working with HMRC to make sure that she has paid all the proper taxes.
Yeah, good to know. If you dodge tax, the Chancellor and the Labour Party will show you sympathy. Or does that rule only apply to good old Ange? Why on earth should the British public feel any sympathy for a politician who expects 2-tier justice? One rule for her and one rule for the rest of you. Or as I would say, she's for the few, not the many. But let's get the thoughts of my panel, former Conservative MP Anna Firth, journalist Emily Sheffield, and former Labour Party advisor Matthew Laza. Well, she is in serious trouble, Matthew. Do the right thing and resign, right? She has called for so many Tories in the past. She's sat on a high horse. She's claimed about cleaning up politics. This stinks. We all know it. The public, even today, a poll came out saying only 15% of people support her. She's got to go.
Well, that question can only be answered when we see the results of this independent investigation. The Prime Minister's ethics advisor, we hope, there's talk that he may even have concluded what's a fairly simple investigation by tomorrow afternoon. If she can prove that she was given decent legal advice, she'd asked the right questions from the right people and been given the wrong answers, then she stays. If she hasn't, then clearly her position is very difficult. I don't think... I mean,
Some would say completely completely untenable, actually.
Well, I think at that stage, I think if the Prime Minister's ethics advisor rules against her, I think it is unlikely she will survive, and that's what my Prime Minister said today. But if what she said turns out to be backed up by evidence, then I think she should survive.
Anna, she's called for many of your colleagues in the previous government to resign, sometimes for far less, actually. This just stinks of rank hypocrisy, doesn't it?
Well, of course it does, and of course, if you live by the sword, you have to die by the sword. She criticised Nadeem Zahawi. She said his position was untenable. Hers is exactly the same. She criticised Jeremy Hunt for not paying enough stamp duty. Hers is exactly the same. She called for him to resign. But I actually think there's an even bigger point. If you cannot manage your tax affairs, how can you possibly run the country? Because she's Deputy Prime Minister. If the Prime Minister is incapacitated, she is running the country. And this was not her first rodeo. Remember, she had the massive scandal in 2015 when she sold her council tax, her council house, and it was thought that she had avoided capital gains tax, and she was very confused and whether which house was which and wherever she was. Now, if that was me and I realised I was that incompetent when it came to tax, I would have the best advisors on side. Now, did she have that? If she doesn't have that self-awareness, she's got to go.
Yeah, Emily, it's this whole... Do you know what really wound me up this week more than anything, right? I come from a working-class background. I don't consider myself working-class anymore. I don't own a home or anything. I'm still renting. I'm a young man, and there's a lot of young people struggling. But the reality is that they've used this working-class stamp, that I'm a woman, I wouldn't be treated any differently. Well, by the look of it, everyone else has been treated differently, right?
No, I think that's a very poor judgment call. And Keir Starmer was still saying that only yesterday. He said she's a working-class woman who clearly made a mistake.
Emily, I'm so sorry. We need to quickly go to a break. We'll be back with you all in just a moment.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
You'll be very familiar with Colin. He's at birthday parties all around Britain.
But he's not what you may think he is. He's not what he seems.
He's a frozen edition. You can see he's melting. It's an ice cream Colin the Caterpillar cake, which has come out in Marks and Spencer's.
I think we'll have to test that.
I think we will. Let's give it a go, shall we?
Test that. So you do the honours there.
Do you want to do it with me? And we can make a wish.
No. You do that. You go work away at that. Well, I talk to you guys because...
Oh, wow.
Claire, there's a story today in the Daily Star about chocolate bars being tuneful. Tell us more.
So, a university professor at Bristol has come up with a design of music commissioned by a couple of chocolate companies. And apparently there is music that they're called the sweetest melody that will enhance the flavour of chocolate, enhance the flavour of eating. And if this actually goes the way that they think it might, then you should be playing music to the...
Does it tell you what type of music you should be playing?
The sweetest, kindest, soulful piece of...
Claire, he just ate your foot. I'll give you another foot. Oh,
no, you're fine. You're absolutely fine.
Norman, pass me a plate.
OK. I would just say that if you go back far enough, the advert that I remember was tunes help you breathe more easily. But I noticed on Claire's story on the in the Star, chocolate bar so tuneful, next to it is thank you very much, is a headline saying, I hate marathons, which is Mo Farah. But apparently he's not talking about Snickers bars, he's talking about running.
Maybe we're all eating too many chocolate bars.
Well, yeah.
I'm not going for a run.
Right, because Snickers bars used to be called Marathon.
They did.
Yeah. They did, yeah.
Much better name.
That was that.
Right, should we give this a go?
Let's give it a got a piece,
I will say, quite difficult to cut, because obviously it's frozen.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, this Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody. Matthew Laza almost became the star of the show there, didn't he? Right, we're going to get stuck back.
I'm always the star of the show, Alex. Come on.
You've had enough airtime tonight. That's enough from you. We're going to get stuck back into Angela Rayner. Emily, we were talking about the fact that the left are constantly using, oh, she's working class, she's a woman, therefore she's being unfairly treated. But it's not true, is it? Look how the previous Tory cabinet were treated when it came to allegations of sleaze and otherwise.
No, I quite agree. I think I want to focus on Keir Starmer a bit, actually, because I think we're all clear that Angela's made some pretty bad choices here. But he came out only yesterday saying she's a working class woman. She clearly made a mistake. That, I think, continues to show terrible judgment on Keir Starmer's behalf. He sacked, remember, Louise Haigh for apparently not being transparent enough because she had mentioned the stolen phone. He demoted Tulip Siddiq, the homelessness minister. So the only reason he's clinging to Angela is a political one, because it's going to be so damaging to lose her. But that only increases the feeling the voters are going to get, which is it's one rule for them and it's one rule for a politician. And the more important you are as a politician, the more the people around you are going to protect you. Even tonight, her colleagues are still coming out defending her. But I think this has become indefensible. It doesn't matter what the inquiry comes out with. She is the Secretary of State for Housing. Yeah. There is a statement on the government website, which, you know, Anna has bought, which clearly states that if a house is held in a trust for a child 18 and under, you are still liable for that house. So it's sitting there on the government website, and then we've got, you know, one of the supposed tax advisors coming out saying, well, she never asked.
Well, we don't know that the one who said today they don't offer tax advice. We don't know that she's paying them in aid. They're just one of the ones she used that's been found on land.
Can I just ask Matthew one more question, because I do want to get back to you on this one, because I want your thoughts on this too. But he's weak, isn't he? The Prime Minister is weak. He just cannot sack her, can he?
No, look, if the conclusion tomorrow goes against her, he will sack her. I mean, let's remember that for a whole chunk of time that Boris Johnson was Prime Minister, he didn't have an ethics advisor.
Yeah, that's true. Very briefly, Anna.
But there's still 2 points here. I still think she should have some shame and she should have some humility and actually realise that you cannot be the housing minister, which includes having a knowledge of housing tax and property tax.
Secretary of State.
And, yeah, Secretary of State, absolutely, and not actually take responsibility. As Emily was saying, I was looking on the website. This says so clearly, 2 clicks, and you find this, and it really clearly says that she should be paying stamp duty.
This is the thing. It's super clear. I think the government, I think tomorrow we're going to find out. I think she's done. But on that note, do you remember the Liz Truss lettuce? Well, I've taken it upon myself to maybe take that challenge one more time. Let's have a quick look at my very special guest, shall we? That's right. There she is. That is Angela Rayner. Angela Rayner as a piece of bread. It's not toast yet. It's not toast yet. You've got the 3 hands, you've got the vape there. I don't know if you can see the vape. You've got a dinghy on the front. Looking pretty comfy there, Angela. Now, we're going to toast that bread if Angela Rayner is sacked. We're going to keep it here in the office until she's gone. What do you think at home? Is Angela Rayner going to outlast a piece of bread? Is she toast? Well, we'll keep you tuned on that one. I promise you'll get an update on my show this week on Alex Armstrong's Tonight, 9 o'clock on Saturday. So if you want to watch that one, trust me. But coming up, tomorrow's front pages will be with you shortly. And I want that breaking news. I get this. More bad news for old Ange over there. Angela Rayner's lawyers have poured cold water over her tax claims. Not looking good, is it? Before that, I'm joined by the petrol station boss, who's taken matters into his own hands after losing 30 grand in fuel due to, guess what, theft. Police won't do anything, so he's taken a stand. I'll reveal all very shortly.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations forecast.
Whilst it's feeling pretty autumnal across the UK at the moment, it's a different story across southern Europe. Lots of places having generally fine, often sunny and still pretty warm weather. That being said, across some eastern parts of Spain tomorrow, it's looking quite damp, and we do still have some heavy thundery rain across parts of northern Italy into Switzerland and Austria, even some snow over the Alps. Otherwise, like I said, lots of fine weather to be had, and that's the theme as we go through the weekend into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations forecast.
Good evening. Some very heavy rain in places today, but it's all shifting away now, and tomorrow looks an awful lot calmer. The winds will be lighter. Most of us will have a dry day. We haven't seen many of those for this week. Low pressure is definitely in control, sitting to the north of the UK. We've had this low actually drifting right across England and Wales. That's been providing the heavy downpours, starting to ease through this evening, pulling out into the North Sea. Now, it won't be a completely dry night. There'll be a few showers coming into Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, the odd one still for northwest England and West Wales. But most places will be dry with long clear spells overnight. We'll allow it to turn a bit colder, certainly than last night. Temperatures in rural spots down into single digits. A fresh but fine start then to Friday, and overall a pretty good looking day. Certainly, as I said, a lot drier than many days have been through this week. Still not completely dry, still a few showers perhaps across the far north of Scotland and the north and the west of Northern Ireland. A few showers feeding in from the Irish Sea into northwest England possibly too. But I think for most of England and Wales it'll be a dry, fine start to the day. As I said, a little bit cooler than it was first thing this morning. During the day we'll see some clouds developing, so it'll be a day of cloudy spells and a little bit of sunshine coming through. A few showers are still possible in western areas, but they should be light and most places won't see them stay dry. It will turn a bit cloudy over the Western Isles with some drizzly rain possible here as the breeze picks up. But for most, the winds are a lot lighter than they have been, so feeling a bit warmer than today. Temperatures high teens, low 20s. Warmer still on Saturday, and again, most places dry and bright. Still a possibility of a few showers in western Scotland. Quite a bit of cloud around on Saturday, so the sunshine will be fairly hazy, but I think you'll notice that difference, the humidity starting to pick up, and a warmer day with temperatures more widely over 20 degrees Celsius. Make the most of it though, because Sunday things turn wet and windy once more.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. All of tomorrow's newspapers' front pages are coming up shortly. Guess where? Guess who's on all of them almost. But first, fed up with police in action. Well, one petrol station has spent 12 grand on his own CCTV and number plate recognition cameras. Goran Raven, who owns a forecourt in Romford, has taken matters into his own hands after losing an estimated 30 grand over 4 years due to people driving off without paying for their petrol. Well, I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by the man himself. Goran, thank you so much for coming in the studio. This is astonishing. We were talking about shoplifting earlier on today, and now we're talking about people driving off without paying for their petrol. Maybe I'll start with this. What did the police do when you contacted them, initially at least?
Well, initially, it's always been apathy from the police. They're not interested. They treat this as almost as a non-crime. And it's got to the point where about 3 to 4 years ago, I actually stopped reporting it to the police. The downside of that is the police now claim that drive-out figures are reduced in our area because they're not getting reported anymore. Yeah, this is something we say regularly because we hear these sort of very lofty liberal media folk on air a lot of the time, different channels, not this one, saying, "Oh, crime's dropping, crime's falling." I think it's confidence in the police force. So you didn't get much response from the police. Did you initially get anything? Did they come to talk to you at all? Did any of the officers show up? Occasionally, someone would turn up and they would offer, very scant advice as to what to do, if anything. And normally you'd report it online, which is their preferred method, so they don't have to even interact with you. Right. And within 30 minutes, you'd get an email back to say the crime's been closed. And that's it. They wouldn't wouldn't even investigate or look into it.
But the thing is, this is what's really confused me, Grant, is that you've got CCTV, which will get the number plates, I'm guessing, before you had the system installed. We'll talk about that in a moment. And you give that to the police. Police surely know the people who've been stealing.
Yeah, they do. We've got great pictures of the people who are committing it, of their faces. Very good, identifiable pictures, and they really aren't interested. The apathy that is shown towards small businesses, and myself, it was quite awful, because my point of view is these people are stealing fuel to commit other crimes.
Yeah.
This is county line drug running. These are the people who are coming to your house at night time, burgling your house, stealing your car, and they could be getting these criminals on another way.
Yeah, I know Essex police in particular have a pretty poor track record with solving crime. I think that's a well-established fact. I think it's only 7% of all crimes are solved in Essex, so this is not a surprise, almost. Now, you've spent a lot of money on this new system. Tell me about that and tell me how that's helped you.
Yeah, so we decided to invest in technology rather than sort of put our trust in the police. And what this system now does is it joins up to our standard CCTV system. It looks at the vehicle as it starts filling up with fuel and says, yeah, that's a red fuel.
Right.
It then compares that number plate to the DVLA database. And if the database matches, everything's fine. The transaction carries on per normal. However, normally the people who are stealing petrol have stolen number plates from somewhere nearby. And if it comes back that that number plate actually belongs on a Citroen, we'll get an alert. And at which point that gives us time to stop the pumps after a few pounds, rather than sort of a £90, £100 fill-up.
So it's more sort of preventative in that measure, that you can't... It's not like you're chasing after them after, because I was wondering, how did you get the money back? But I guess this is money you would have lost had you not intervened.
Yeah, 100%. And this is one of the things that the police love to say, that you have to prove intent, that someone came there to steal fuel. We can prove the intent that they're taking it, and it's on a false number plate.
And finally, what would you like to see be done about this?
I'd like police to take crime on the forecourt much more seriously, and also just crime from businesses. People I speak to in all sorts of small businesses, they've just stopped reporting crime. They don't feel as though the police are taking them seriously.
Yeah, do you feel the Labour government is the right government to get tough on these sorts of things? Many people, and listen, you don't have to make any political statements if you don't want to, but many people I speak to, business owners up and down the country, are fed up. We were talking about this massive rise in shoplifting earlier on. It's the highest it's been forever, I think. 520,000 shoplifts this year, last year, should I say. Do you have faith the government are going to act on this?
Unfortunately not. I think that the police just pay lip service to us, the general public, and they're following what their political masters really want them to do. And it feels frustrating that neither of the two previous governments have done anything really to combat on crime at all.
Yeah, there's been a few people arrested for what we would say sort of free speech crimes, people being arrested for tweets and things like that, and some of those have, of course, been in the county of Essex. Do you feel that's a good use of police time, or would you rather they were out trying to catch your guys? Maybe it's a bit of a silly question, but I want to know the answer either way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a waste of police resources. You see, it's much better that the police are turning up to someone's burglary, the house being stolen, something serious, rather than, someone said something offensive online. I think that there's crimes that need investigating quickly and carefully, and there's others that, don't deserve that sort of priority.
And what advice would you give to other garage owners across the country that would obviously probably might be experiencing similar things to you, Goran?
Invest in technology. Technology, it won't eliminate crime. Nothing ever is going to eliminate crime. Even if the police were, on point, they'll never eliminate crime. But you can do as much as you can to make yourself as safe as possible.
Goran Raven, thank you so much for coming in and telling us your story, because I know this is what I would say is lawless Britain almost now, isn't it? It's just like lawless Britain. There's crime up and down the country. It's absolutely bonkers. Well, I've got to read a right reply here from the Essex Police. They have said the number of making off without payment offences has almost halved in the last year. Our specialist business crime team work with businesses of all kinds to tackle persistent offenders and take measures to protect their businesses, and the force has secured more than 3,000 charges for theft from a shop offences in the last year alone. There are a number of steps businesses in the sector can take to prevent non-payment of fuel, and we will work with businesses to implement crime prevention. Here we go. Because we value our neighbourhoods, including our hard-working local businesses, we increased the size of our neighbourhood policing teams at the start of April, and since then, they have secured more than 900 charges. All the while, reported crime has fallen across the country in the first half of 2025. We achieved a 10% increase in charges secured compared to the same period last year. Well, maybe they could have been tackling some criminals where they were writing that statement, but there we go. Time for our latest Great British giveaway now, and it's our biggest prize to date, worth 104 grand. It's a 4-berth motorhome worth 74k, whopping 30 grand tax-free cash as well. Here's all the details.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000.
You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Promotional motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof lights, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For a chance to win the motorhome and cash, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, coming up, the very first of tomorrow's front pages, I'll have more of that breaking news tonight. Angela Rayner's lawyers have poured cold water over her tax claims. And do you think she's going to out-survive a piece of bread? We'll find out that over the weekend too. Plus, former Culture Secretary and Boris Johnson ally Nadine Dorries has defected even, to reform. All that and much, much more in just a few seconds.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
I'm excited for them. They match each other in ambition, and it gives you faith, amen, that you can have it all, a successful career and start a family. I think it's very romantic. And I love the way that he celebrates her. I think that that's the sweetest thing to watch. I mean, they do celebrate each other, but watching the way Travis celebrates Taylor's wins is really, I mean, she could be an intimidating character. She's this self-made, very intelligent woman.
And they're just such a lovely couple together, aren't they, Kinsey? I mean, this is huge news all over the world. It got millions of likes within minutes, didn't it? But it's huge news stateside, because even the president was asked about it. And we've got a clip of that. Let's just have a listen to what he had to say.
Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are engaged, and the world wants your reaction, sir.
Well, I wish him a lot of luck. I think he's a great player. I think he's a great guy, and I think that she's a terrific person. So I wish them a lot of luck.
That's very nice, Kinsey. Very generous towards Taylor Swift, because he said previously, I think, that he hates her, hasn't he?
He did say that on Truth Social, so this is an improvement. Yeah, I mean, this is more than a celebrity couple. It's become a cultural milestone. They met through Travis's podcast. He went to her concert and was disappointed that he didn't get to meet her and was complaining about it on his podcast. And they quickly became the most talked about pairing in modern pop culture. She attends his games. NFL ratings have gone through the roof over it. And you're right, it is a national talking point. So, of course, we're excited 2 years after they started dating that they're going to take the next big step and get married.
When is the big day likely to be, Kinsey?
I think that they might keep this a secret from us.
The People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day.
Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, I've got your front pages hot off the press. Let's just jump straight into it, shall we? The Independent, they are leading with Rayner clings on as vandals target her second home. The Metro Mind leading with mind-mending chemicals. The Guardian, PM must not meet Israeli president during UK visit, says Labour MPs. The Telegraph, Rayner's lawyer rebutes her tax claims. Yeah, there's a lot more of that coming. Then the Judgment Day, coming up on the FP here. Judgment Day for Rayner, with Starmer prepared to sack Deputy Prime Minister. That's the I, beg your pardon. And the Daily Mail, Nadine Dorries to quit Tories and join Reform. And of course, Rayner's in the top left there. She really can't escape these headlines. She can't escape the media at the moment. She really can't. But let me bring back my fantastic panel: Matthew Larser, Emily Sheffield, and Anna Firth. Thank you all very much for joining me for this bit here. This is me. Can't get away from it, can we?
There used to be a rule, didn't there? If you were still on the front pages 48 hours after you were finished, and it seems like we're going into like the third day now of Rayner scandals. So I think, you know, following that, she is finished.
Yeah, Emily, what do you make of it? Because, again, Independent here, I mean, these aren't necessarily the most right-leaning newspapers either. I mean, you know, we've even got Rayner on the front of The Guardian here. Firm used by Rayner offered no tax advice. She's really lost the room.
I think it's what a lot of commentators who are defending her, and definitely people in the Labour Party who are defending her, are completely ignoring, and this is a Westminster bubble problem, is the public are not on her side. And this is someone who they have felt have felt an enormous amount of warmth to. I feel an enormous amount. I've met Angela Rayner. I feel very warm towards her. I'm very proud of what she's achieved in her life, but that doesn't excuse this. There cannot be politicians in very high office who claim to say they don't understand the tax system when they're imposing taxes. Remember, this government is about to impose a mansion tax, or is saying that it's going to. It imposed a horrific farmers' tax last autumn, where all those vulnerable farmers, they had to go and get expensive advice. They were vulnerable farmers who committed suicide. So it is stinking to everybody. I'm afraid of rank hypocrisy. As I said earlier, I don't think it matters what happens tomorrow. I think if Starmer keeps her, this is another really big nail in an increasingly more obvious coffin of a beleaguered government.
And Matthew, you know, we've seen. I think this actually makes it even more funny. Now, of course, we saw Angela Rayner talking about and leaking potentially her tax plans if she were in government. Is that, you know, this makes this whole thing even seem more ridiculous? This is the I paper here. If we just skip to the I very briefly. Judgment Day for Rayner, with Starmer prepared to sack Deputy PM. But we didn't hear him say he would sack her, did we? We didn't hear him say that today when he was quizzed on it. But it now looks like.
Well, I think what he said today was. I think basically it's a bit like ice melting. Support does seem to be draining away as more facts emerge piecemeal. Now, we don't know all the facts. We hope that George Magnus, the Prime Minister's ethics advisor, will have seen everything. Laurie Magnus, sorry, not George. He's an economist, isn't he, George Magnus? And so Laurie Magnus will see all the facts and may be able to make a judgment on the whole position. It's good that it's going to be done quickly, but it's not looking. I mean, it's not looking good in terms of support for her. And I think you're right, Emily. I think, you know, inside the Labour Party, I think, you know, when people step back, they realise that, you know, yes, Angela's got a great backstory. She's fought against the odds to get where she is. And that maybe means it's right that she is cut a bit of slack. It also means sometimes she's attacked by her enemies. Remember when she went to Glyndebourne, went to the opera at Glyndebourne, and Tories were scoffing at her for doing it. Yeah. Some Tories came to her defence and sort of making fun of her in the chamber. But actually she said, why shouldn't a working class lass like me go to, go and have a glass of champagne at Glyndebourne? That's one thing. Yeah. I think people give her a little bit of slack, but clearly if you've broken the rules, you're not going to get away with it, whatever your backstory.
Yeah, I think you're right. And listen, she can do what she wants, right? She can do what she wants. People don't actually care if she goes to the opera. I mean, there'll be some morons, in my opinion, who think that that's a silly thing that she shouldn't be allowed to do because she's working class. That's moronic. But really, Anna, the problem here is the hypocrisy of it all.
Well,
the hypocrisy, that is what, I think more than anything, that's what's enraged the public.
Well, of course it is. You know, here we've got a government who has run the economy into the ground, has generated a massive black hole, which is now going to raise taxes on ordinary people to pay. Meanwhile, the Deputy Prime Minister is avoiding her taxes. I mean, she is setting the most appalling example. It's just as simple as that. And, you know, I mean, what I find utterly extraordinary is she must have known when she grew up in Downing Street and got out of the car with great sort of finale and the sunglasses. You
can see them here on this, in front of the eye, actually, that picture.
As if she hasn't got a care in the world. She knew then that she was in deep doo-doo. So that is arrogance. What you can see there is an arrogant politician who thinks that the rules do not apply to her. And let's not forget, the day before this broke, she was putting her free tickets that she got for Brighton Pride, 1,100, she was registering them. Now, what a coincidence. She's registering that freebie at the last minute. Remember all about the AirPods? You know, the 2 lots of AirPods, and then she said, oh, no, that was a mistake as well. She doesn't get it. She thinks it's one rule for her and one rule for everyone else, and that is not acceptable.
For the few, not the many. Emily, what do we make of Nadine Dorries? This is the front page of the Daily Mail here. Of course, the Angela Rayner picture is on the front of it again there, but underneath, the Westminster exclusive here, Nadine Dorries has quit the Tories to join Reform. She says this, she says, the Tory party is dead. Dead. What do you make of that?
She has been saying that for a long time. Nadine has never recovered from... And I know Nadine. I'm hugely respectful of her. I get on with her extremely well. But she has truly never got over what happened to Boris. She has loathed the Tory party and many people within it ever since. You know, she's published 2 books with some huge accusations against certain people in the Tory party. Certainly some of those accusations, you know, I had some sympathy with what was going on around selecting people. But, you know, my concern is, I'm afraid, that there are a number of senior Tories who are not in government anymore, who are not MPs, and there's a part of me, I'm afraid, who knows that these particular individuals have got used to being in the limelight, being on the front pages, and I'd put Jake Berry in this as well, I'm afraid, and the easiest thing for them to do at the moment is go and join Reform. And I've had a number of people say to me, Emily, why don't you go and join Reform? It'll make a big headline, you'll probably better to get a seat. Well, I have always been a Conservative in my life, and I just think if you're loyal to a party, stick with the party through the rough and smooth. And I'm afraid, I just have no respect for defectors.
Well, OK, so Anna, I'll put this to you because, you know, I suspect this is the start of many more defections. I mean, we're looking ahead to next year. Kemi Badenoch is polling beneath the Labour Party, let's get real. I mean, she's still scraping by at 17. I think the last YouGov poll put them on 17%. That's generous, I think. Labour on 20%. Even with the Labour government so beleaguered, Kemi Badenoch just cannot break through the noise. We've had Robert Jenrick on manoeuvres, let's put it that way. He's been out again talking about his net zero immigration plans, trying to outflank Farage. This is a complete disaster for the Conservative Party. I mean, Nadine Dorries, I can understand, but she is a big name. She is a big name.
Well, look. We now know why Farage was so keen to be talking to Starmer about needing to put some Reform peers into the Lords.
Oh, you cynic, Anna, you cynic.
We know that Nadine...
You're right, but you are...
you know, was enraged when her bid to become a Baroness came to nothing. So we know there's something in this for her. But I was driving up here tonight when this news broke, and it said major defection. And I have to say, as a card-carrying, you know, loyal Conservative, my heart was slightly in my mouth. I thought, oh my gosh, you know, is it the wonderful Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg? Could it be Suella? Could it be someone really Jenrick? Could it be someone really important? And when they said Nadine Dorries, I have to say I laughed because honestly, she is going to be probably a thorn in their side.
Well, on that point, Matthew, because she was a big supporter of the online censorship bill, which I call it, the online safety bill.
Absolutely.
Big supporter of that bill. The Reformers saying they completely tossed it out the window if they got into power, which I completely agree with, by the way. I think that bill is a complete disaster. I had the former Culture Secretary, or not Nadine Dorries, Michelle Donnellan, and I asked her what a VPN is. She couldn't even tell me what a VPN was, right? So I think this has been written by people who haven't got a clue. But Nadine Dorries supports it. Is this a problem for Nigel Farage? Because he's pulling people from all over the spectrum, right? He had a Liberal Democrat defect to him, which is probably one of other zeros. But, you know, at the end of the day, is he going to struggle to unite a party under an ideology?
Look, I think this is absolutely shameless on the part of both Nigel Farage and Reform and of Nadine herself. This is cynical politics at its worst. As Anna says, presumably Nadine, Anna Zemley has said, Nadine, and my colleague Jake Berry, who I do work with in the daytime, has declared an interest. But I think it is. I've told Jake, I think it's pretty cynical of him to do this. I mean, look, not only is it the online safety bill, Nadine wanted it to be a lot harder than it eventually ended up being. Yeah. So you know, that's a great point. But also, of course, she was Boris's literal #1 fan. And what happened under Boris? We had the huge Boris wave of legal migration, which is perhaps going to cause us a big crisis as those people get indefinite leave to remain as the system clicks in. So this is daft, and I think it's a real danger of Reform if they don't seem to be standing for something. If they'll just basically have anybody who's got a name in the media come join us. Doesn't matter whether what you actually said in the past conflicts with what we're saying now.
Yeah, Emily, but you know, many would argue, to balance this out a little bit, many would argue that Reform would say, actually, these are the people we want. We want people with experience because we're going to go into government with no government experience. Nadine Dorries has done it. She's been there. At least she understands the inner workings to some extent, I'd argue, better than anyone who's coming out fresh. Because, of course, what's going to happen if there was an election tomorrow, by the looks of the polls, Reform would be in with a landslide and they'd have no experience other than these defectors. So maybe this is a good thing for their party.
I agree with you on that. They do need some experience in there, and I think that is why they are working so hard at newly unemployed Conservatives.
Newly unemployed.
Of which, you know, there are quite a lot, but I'm afraid I just retain a very cynical view about it. I just think so far he's not pulling people from the front bench of the Conservative Party. He's pulling people who have lost their seats yet. Yeah. I'd be surprised, actually. And I think, as you say, yeah, I would.
Put this to you,
from the front bench, I would be surprised.
Well, can I put this to you then? Because next year we've got the council elections coming up. Now, Kemi Badenoch, I don't think she's going to survive that council election because I think it's going to be a bloodbath for the Tories. Look at Essex, look at the polls. It is a turquoise-blue wave going to sweep from Kent to Essex and probably many other parts of the country. I don't think she can survive that. I think she's finished. That's my opinion. But at that point, you're looking at many front bench, in some cases, people, you know, even like James Clever, not saying he'd defect, but you're that sort of level who are going to have no councillors, nobody to help them get re-elected. Surely, at that point in time, some of them are going to go, I haven't really got a choice. I'm either going to have to go now or I never go.
I think it depends on the size of the bloodbath, because remember that there is still, the Conservatives still hold a very large proportion of councillors from the Boris Johnson days. So let's see. I'm not someone who's going to sit there saying Kemi's out of a job in a year, it's going to be a bloodbath. Let's just see what happens. I personally, I'm delighted to see that Jenrick's out and about. I see Kemi and him as a strength. I think it's a very easy story to say he wants the top job. Fine, I'm all for ambition in a party. I think James Cleverly is there. So, I don't know, to me, Reform is still looking like a raggle-draggle, and it's just still all about a man who's just gone to America and slagged us off.
You know, I think Chris Philp is doing an excellent job as Shadow Home Secretary.
But does anyone know? Nobody knows who he is.
No one knows who Chris Philp is.
Well, I'm not so sure. He's been out and about a lot.
I don't think so.
No, I'm afraid your average voter hasn't got a clue who he is.
I don't think the average people know who Kemi Badenoch is. I don't think the average voter knows who Robert Jenrick is. I think they know the name Nigel Farage better than anybody in politics.
But by the way, can I just state that no one knows anyone in Reform apart from Nigel Farage?
No, that's true.
No one. But at the moment, the media story is that Reform are on the march. They are absolutely loving that story, and they are bigging up Farage, following him around. You know, anything he does, he might be sort of, you know, scratching his head or something. Change shoes, and that would sound fine.
No. I think to be fair on Farage, that's underplaying what an incredible experienced media operator he is. He is an unbelievably experienced campaigner, operator, and he has got, as someone rightly pointed out the other day, he has got more experience under his belt than any other senior leader sitting in Westminster right now. He is not I'm not passing him aside. I don't support him, and I don't support reform because I do think it's very much the Nigel Farage party. And I think pulling some people, as you say, like Nadine or Jake Berry or whatever, and putting them from here and some Lib Dems from here, I think when they come into government, it is going to be an absolute bleep show.
Let's hope they don't.
Let me just finish off Anna and then Matthew, go on.
But Kemi Badenoch has made some incredibly thoughtful speeches. She's made a series of them, particularly the one on immigration and our deportation bill, which has been largely copied by Reform. But she is not getting the same media attention at this current time as Nigel Farage
Is it because she just doesn't break through the noise? People don't care what Kemi Badenoch thinks. That's what I think it is.
No, it's not.
I think the Conservatives just
the
lost.
average person at home cares what Kemi Badenoch thinks.
No, because Farage is the story, and he's high up in the polls. And until the Conservatives start pulling up in the polls, the story really is at the moment about the leader in the polls and the Labour government.
Matthew, is this just people gasping for breath? That Reform is just at 30% in the polls in some cases. The Tories look like they could be toast in the next 4 years. Maybe it's Angela Rayner, then it's the whole Tory party. What do you think?
Oh, and I can see the bandwagon ahead of us, and these desperate failed and rejected Tories trying to leap on it. And that's a huge danger for Reform, because if Reform it just becomes a recycle of those Tories that the electorate kicked out, the British people had more than enough of after 14 failed years, then that will be the real damage for...
Do you mind if I make one very quick point?
Briefly.
What's going to be quite interesting is if some blue Labour...
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the moment it won't happen, but if it does,
remember,
that will be a big
he has
shock.
already said that he thinks the Tory party are going to go to the right of him. He is trying to sweep up.
Yeah.
He is actually trying to sweep up a sort of blue Labour.
I mean, that would be his ideal, absolutely.
Ideal too.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting time for Reform. Of course, they've got lots coming up of Reform, so we expect to hear from them a lot more in the next 48 hours. But Anna, I think this point here about Nadine Dorries saying the Tories are dead, maybe not forever, but at least for now. Would you accept that?
No, not at all. No, as I was
We've also got 121 MPs versus their 5.
How ridiculous!
Well, they're about to come fifth in Scotland and Wales.
And they can't even hang on to them.
That's very true.
I've got a minute. I want to ask Emily about Armani. Of course, sadly, Armani passed away at 91 years old. You've met Armani, is that right?
I've met... Well, I was deputy editor of British Vogue for many years, and so I used to go to his shows in Milan, and you would sometimes go back into his sort of big office, and he would be sort of hovering there. He was actually a very shy man. He never used to say very much. What was always that you noticed how sharp he was. He knew everything that was going on. He was immaculate. His studios were immaculate. His offices were immaculate. These piercing blue eyes. There are so many great things about this man. Age 91, he was still working flat out. He is the sole owner of a 2.4 billion company.
Incredible life. Incredible life.
And
but
Matthew had an Armani suit.
Well, there you go. Well, I've got a boatload of news I'll be sharing with you in just a moment. Maybe an update on the toast. Let's see. But before that, let's find out what's going on with the weather.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. Some very heavy rain in places today, but it's all shifting away now, and tomorrow looks an awful lot calmer. The winds will be lighter. Most of us will have a dry day. We haven't seen many of those for this week. Low pressure is definitely in control, sitting to the north of the UK. We've had this low actually drifting right across England and Wales. That's been providing the heavy downpours, starting to ease through this evening, pulling out into the North Sea. Now, it won't be a completely dry night. There'll be a few showers coming into Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, the odd one still for North West England and West Wales. But most places will be dry with long clear spells overnight. We'll allow it to turn a bit colder, certainly than last night. Temperatures in rural spots down into single digits. A fresh but fine start then to Friday, and overall a pretty good looking day. Certainly, as I said, a lot drier than many days have been through this week. Still not completely dry, still a few showers perhaps across the far north of Scotland and the north and the west of Northern Ireland. A few showers feeding in from the Irish Sea into northwest England possibly too, but I think for most of England and Wales it'll be a dry, fine start to the day. As I said, a little bit cooler than it was first thing this morning. During the day we'll see some clouds developing, so it'll be a day of cloudy spells and a little little bit of sunshine coming through. A few showers are still possible in western areas, but they should be light and most places won't see them stay dry. It will turn a bit cloudy over the Western Isles with some drizzly rain possible here as the breeze picks up. But for most, the winds are a lot lighter than they have been, so feeling a bit warmer than today. Temperatures high teens, low 20s. Warmer still on Saturday, and again, most places dry and bright. Still a possibility of a few showers in western Scotland. Quite a bit of cloud around on Saturday, so the sunshine will be fairly hazy, but I think you'll notice that difference, the humidity starting to pick up, and a warmer day with temperatures more widely over 20 degrees Celsius. Make the most of it though, because Sunday things turn wet and windy once more.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Yeah, we've got loads coming up on Late Edition tonight. The front page is again dominated by Rayner. It's raining Rayner, and it's Judgment Day for her tomorrow, isn't it? The Daily Mail with her. But they are also talking about Nadine Dorries, that massive defection they're calling from to Report UK. I will see you with all of that and more after the break.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Armstrong, and this is Patrick Christys tonight, Late Edition, breaking right now.
But I took and relied on that advice
was wrong,
and that advice was wrong.
Oh, she is toast, isn't she? The working class hero who cries for sympathy as it's revealed her lawyers are now rebuting her tax claims. Meanwhile, her cabinet mates have been out with an impassioned defence.
They have a go at her because she's so bloody good at her job.
Oh, really? So good at her job,